So, if you're like me when I was a kid, you might have always wondered why some people pay seemingly exorbitant amounts of money for luxury goods. So, I think it was Jay-Z who was spotted with a $6.5 million watch. And I always thought, like, why would someone pay such a high amount of money for something that seems to do what a Timex or a Swatch could do for less than $100? And some people who buy those luxury items would talk about the quality or to talk about these diamonds on it or whatever it is. But when we get to the essence of why people pay for luxury items, it's to show that they are able to spend in excess of what is normal in order to get the same level of function. So the price tag is actually the reason for buying it, much less than the actual function or the actual materials or anything like that. It's the story of being able to tell someone that instead of paying $100 for a bag, I spent $10,000. That is at the heart of why people buy luxury items. And so when we understand this, we can understand why some people pay thousands of dollars for a Rolex or millions of dollars for a much more niche and higher end designer watch, while a smartwatch does a better job at telling time. It has way more features. It adjusts itself to daylight savings. And if we think of features, the smartwatch has Rolex or whatever beat. But we're not able to, or we don't insure smartwatches. We don't pass down smartwatches the way that we do with higher end luxury watches. And the reason is that the brand around it is known to be an item that is in excess. So when Omega, which is another luxury brand watch, created a partnership with Swatch, which was a more utilitarian kind of lower pricing watch, they eroded their brand, the trust people had in Omega being a luxury watch. So now if I saw someone wearing an Omega, I might not perceive them to be someone who had bought a very expensive watch. They might have been someone who bought a only a little bit expensive watch because I think they're still retailing for like $300. But the brand name recognition gets eroded because of that partnership Omega made with Swatch. That by classifying the users of Omega into the same category as the users of Omega and Swatch, the users of pure Omega were kind of undermined because now they were getting associated with a cheaper brand. And what else? The other thing we have to understand is that the price tag and the excess that people are paying is the reason why they buy it at all. If Rolex was the same Rolex with the same features, same material, but they decided to sell their watches for half the price, then it would create half the attraction with the people who wanted to spend that money in order to get that level of status. So there is no reason for Rolex to price a watch at $10,000 or at $2,000. It's purely how they fit into the market, how they position themselves within the rest of the competition, and how they secured that price point and carved their brand into fulfilling that price point for the people who want that price point. And we could say the same with Patek Philippe, who are going for the people who like millions of dollars of watches. They are all carving out their own position. So if you seek to serve people who want cheaper, then we also have to do the work of carving out that position. What I mean to say is that the price you charge, is one of the many, many elements that people digest before they understand the narrative you're trying to paint with your entire brand. So from the Rolex, from the material that they use, to where it's made, to how it's created, how long it takes to create, is it handmade? All these different factors play into creating the narrative, and price just happens to be one of those things that tells a story. So if we seek to create that premium brand, yet have a very low price tag, then it's going to erode the rest of the story. And at the same time, if we try to serve people who want something cheap, and we start to have more a luxurious appeal, or are graphic design looks a bit more luxurious. These all things also erode the brand as well, just as much as price would erode if you were trying to go cheap and you had a higher price. So that's one of the reasons why when I work with clients who want to serve maybe people who want more of a discount, who want to work with more dentists who are offering promotions, I actually recommend that they don't create a website that looks too luxurious, that looks way too high end, because it tells the wrong story. That's not the story that the people you seek to serve want to hear. So when it comes to figuring out what price should we charge, what are the different elements that we should have in our practice, or what are the different features we have and all this other stuff, it has to start with who are the people you seek to serve and what is the narrative they want to hear. Because once you understand that narrative they want to hear, you can arrange all the pieces and orchestrate them in a way that creates alignment and consistency with that narrative. And so you're able to carve out a position among the competitors as this type of dental practice, just as Rolex carved out in the competition of watchmakers that Rolex is this type of watchmaker. And that's what we essentially want to do with the work of marketing. So next time you see someone who is wearing an extraordinarily expensive piece of clothing or whatever that might be, understand that what they're doing is telling a story about themselves that they borrowed that narrative from another brand. So when someone's wearing a Rolex, that entire narrative that Rolex tells is something that they bought and that they want in order to share to other people that they are that kind of person. And it's not to say that one person who enjoys luxury items is wrong or someone who enjoys cheaper things are wrong. We each get to tell our own narratives, but the question we have to ask ourselves as people who are serving people who want a certain narrative is, what is that narrative, so that we can build something just for those people. All right, I hope this video was helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next one.